Peace. Peace. I just wanted to go live and just build with y'all for a little bit. Sometimes I do these random check-ins. This is also a part of like therapy for me because I work so much and I'm always on the go. I always have to designate and put some time aside in order to just stop and check in. Peace, Supreme. Just building on the sciences of life, just some things that was on my mind. That's all. Peace, Celine. Yeah, I'm not sure if Barbara got back in touch with you yet, but she wanted to do a live on IG with you and just elaborate on some of the work that you're doing out there in DC. Yeah, you know, yeah, I already know. I already know. Running the campaign is wild. Peace, Joy. The Black Book Fairy. I appreciated that post you shared the other day when you were saying that, and I'm paraphrasing it. You talking about how your grandchildren will one day be able to talk about how their grandmother or maybe your great grandchildren be able to say one day that uh, you were a black book fairy. So the other day, and I'm just going to build a little bit on some of the things I was discussing recently in a IG live that I did with my sister Barbara, and we were talking about protection of the black woman. And one of the things that I shared in that was the importance of advocacy on behalf of us as men. And one of the things that I notice is typically when people talk about protection and provision for women, usually when people talk about it in that context, they're only talking about women that they may be married to, engaged to, in some type of relationship or situationship with, or women who are somehow connected to them in terms of their family. Rarely do I hear them talk about protection and provisions for women, period. It doesn't matter if you have some kind of relationship with her or you sleeping with her or if she's a woman in your family. The same sense of provision and protection that you would extend to a woman that you are in a relationship with or a woman that's in your family, that should be extended to women, period. Because when you think about the society that we live in, because of its status quo and because of its history, of marginalizing groups of people, there are always going to be segments of the population which are the most vulnerable. And women are part of our population, which represents a segment of our citizenry, which are part of our population that are vulnerable. And in terms of civilization and righteousness and equality and all of these various different things that we talk about, in order to establish equity, we have to be able to extend provisions and protection for women across the board. Now, I know that's difficult for some guys to even think about, because a lot of us, because we objectify women, we have this transactional relationship with women, meaning a lot of times we only do things for women if we're going to get something in return. It's very rarely a unconditional love. You know, it's an extension of ourselves just based upon what type of transaction that's going to be. And we have to grow beyond that. We have to grow beyond that. Meaning we have to have the capacity and the empathy to be able to assist women, regardless to whom or what. And what I mean by that is, I saw a video maybe about a month ago, and it was a guy talking about how part of the advocacy for women is you have to speak their name in a room. You know, verbally advocating for them within spaces where they may not be present. And that's cool, but words don't always translate into work. And if you're in a room and you have no power or authority, it doesn't matter whose name you're speaking in the room. Nothing ain't gonna get done anyway. Now, saying that, you know, you got to advocate for women and speak their name in a room where they're not present and stuff. That may make a woman feel warm and fuzzy inside, but does that translate into provisions? Does that translate into actual contracts for their business or grant opportunities or other different things that they can utilize within the society in order to empower themselves without strings attached? So we're not at a time in our growth and development where it's just about speaking somebody's name in a room. You know, we're in the time and the age of stewardship and being an instigator or an upstander. The emphasis should really be on actionable items, things that we can actually do that translates into something tangible. And oftentimes there are not a lot of males who are willing to do that, who are willing to help support a woman's business, even if they don't use any of those products, even if it's something that they personally don't benefit from, to support her anyway, because you genuinely are committed to her success, because the success of her means the success of all of us. And one of the things that made me start to realize this is, over the years of doing community work, one of the things that I've always seen is that there is always a lacking in a very, very, very small percentage of males present who understand volunteerism, who understand community work. Whenever I've gone and participated in community events, whether it was dealing with youth or whether it was dealing with elders or other different aspects of our community, I was outnumbered by women. There may have been a sprinkle of men in the environment, but I could usually count the men on their hands, including myself. And I would always sit there and think, like, damn, like, a lot of us don't see the value in volunteerism and just putting in the work and investing our time and sweat equity and finances and making sure that we are a part of bringing about actionable items and solutions to our community. A lot of us think if we ain't getting paid or our name is not on an awning somewhere or the largest font letters on a flyer or whatever else, we ain't gonna get involved in it. And a lot of us are very egotistical in that way. And our communities are suffering because of that. A lot of times we talk about how, it's difficult for males to get together and all this other stuff. And it's difficult for males a lot of times to just volunteer their time and to commit to it, to say, you know what, I could put, forth an hour and a half once a week to just hang out with these young males or to volunteer coach this team. I could invest some time and do it consistently. There's not a lot of us that do that nowadays. Now, in the age that I grew up in, when you go back to, I was born in the 70s, but going through the 80s and everything, prior to the crack era and stuff, there were a lot of Black men who were mentors in that sense, where they would put themselves in positions in order to assist us, not because they had a title, not because they were getting paid, but because they saw the value in investing in our future through us. And as we've gone over time, I'm starting to see less and less of that. Less and less of that. And again, our communities suffer from that because a lot of us have this transactional mindset where we approach the community. We sometimes even approach our own family with the mind state of what am I going to get out of it? And that has to change. And I don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of adults changing that mindset, especially if they've been living selfishly like that for 30, 40 years. It's possible to change that mindset. But I'm more invested in these young males becoming men and teaching them the importance of what's going on, Josh? Teaching them the importance of being involved in their communities. Not by talk, but showing them that by what I do consistently. Sound only travels 1,120 feet per second. That may sound fast, but when you look at light, it travels 186,000 miles per second. So light travels much faster than sound. In other words, people are going to visibly see what you're about and what you represent in terms of your reputation preceding you and your character before they hear anything that's coming out of your mouth. And I know a lot of people are heavily invested nowadays in striving to make podcasts and do a bunch of talking and all this other stuff. The true value of the work is in what happens offline. That's where the real value happens. And as long as we're more invested in the actual work, we'll realize that, people are going to see me long before they hear anything that I'm saying. Light travels 186,000 miles per second, and sound only travels 1,120 feet per second. Right? So, we have to be a lot more invested in volunteerism and committing our time to something outside of ourselves. And a great way of doing it is finding a woman. She doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. And that's what I challenge some of you brothers to do. She ain't got to be a family member. She ain't got to be somebody you sleeping with or trying to sleep with. Just a woman that you appreciate what she's doing. And maybe she's starting a business and she posts something where you can donate to help support her business. Support her. You ain't got to know her, but you're playing your part and your role in striving to establish some equity in the society, because it's already difficult enough for women to get access to certain things. We all know that this society has double standards and women don't necessarily have the same type of opportunities as males have in the society. And in order for us to be committed to equality and equity, we have to be a part of bringing about that equality and equity in some form or fashion. And I'm not saying that we have to go out here and sacrifice our lives and to take away from things that we need to do in order to maintain our own food, clothing, and shelter. But what I'm saying is little things matter, to show our women that we love, we support, and we are committed to their success, because it ultimately means the success of us as a family, no doubt, L, and our success as a community, because a community is just a large gathering of families. So we have to commit ourselves to that, you know, and it can't be transactional. It can't be, oh, I'm gonna do something for her because I'm trying to sleep with her. Do it because that's the right thing to do. Yep. And yeah, sometimes you do have to sacrifice. And that's a conversation that's important to have with people who are already investing their time. Some people are not even willing yet to even do anything, which is not even to the degree of sacrifice. And to have that conversation with people about sacrificing something, a lot of people are less receptive to that when you share that particular aspect of what I'm talking about. So I'm starting off in the most simplistic form. Do something small. Invest a little bit of your time. Take an inventory of the time that you invest in different things, and take a little bit of that and invest it in supporting somebody else. And I'm talking more specifically about the women in our community, because it's easy to do that for the woman that you have a relationship with. It's easy to do it for the women that are in your family. Do it for a woman that you don't have that type of relationship with. Right? As a creative, one of the things that I've learned on my journey is that being a conduit of the creator, things don't come to you in life. They don't come to you. They come through you. Any kind of opportunity that you have, any opportunity came through you, not to you. And I say through you and not to you because a lot of times when people have certain type of opportunities, they treat it in such a personal way that they choke the life out of it. They don't realize that this gift was shared through you in order to share with other people. Because if you allow things to pass through you, in terms of some people in the church, they call it being blessed or receiving a blessing. If you receive something and you allow it to pass through you, then you stay an open vessel or a conduit for other different opportunities. But if something, you treat things like they just come to you, you restrict the continuity of the consciousness or the energy, or in the church, they call it that blessing that was given through you, because it has no way of being transmitted or shared with others because you holding on to it. It's almost like being Scrooge McDuck. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Scrooge McDuck. He was real wealthy, but all he did was just go into his safe and swim around in that money. That was no good to anybody. It was really useless. It was really useless. But when you're given those type of opportunities, when you're in a position and you could assist others, that is the only way that other opportunities can pass through you. Because if you're holding on to it, you're restricting the possibility of any kind of other opportunity coming through you. And here's the thing. It's easy for people to see when opportunities come through them, when things happen in their life and it's like, oh my goodness, this is like a blessing to me. It's easy to see that. But people act like they blind, deaf, and dumb when it comes to you being that to another person. They start rationalizing why they don't need to give or why they don't need to invest their time when it comes to other people. But when it was time for them to receive something, oh, they was all open. And that's what I'm talking about. We have to be equally perceptive of what is coming through us and what we need to share with others. We got to be equally receptive, because even when we look at currency, it's a current. It's like electricity. And we have to operate as a conduit in a form of like alternative energy, or like an alternative alternating current, where things come through us and we share. Things come back through us and we share. We're just facilitating opportunity. And the more that you're in that space and you start to see the consistency of it, you realize that these gifts, as Joy is saying, are not just yours, but you are entrusted with these gifts in order to share with other people. Like sometimes people say to me like, oh man, I just want to hear your wisdom or something, or that's your wisdom. And I'll be like, yo, it ain't mine. you know, I may articulate things in a certain way, but the procedure or the process has always been here. We have to be conduits. We have to be facilitators. Because if something comes to us and we just sit there and hold it like this, nothing else can come to us. We just shut the door. Soon as something comes through me, I'm always open, like, okay, what do I need to do with this to share with others? It's been times where and I'm gonna be even more direct. There's been times where thousands of dollars came through me. And when it came through me, I wasn't like, oh, yo, I'm about to do this, that, and the third and shit. When it came through me, I was like, okay, who I need to assist. And the majority of it, I was able to assist other people, whether that was for some food, clothing, and shelter, whether that was for some business opportunity that they was invested in, whether that was some type of trip that they were striving to go on, or whatever. I was just giving it, I was treating it like it was a hot potato, like, yo, I got to share this. This is the only reason it's coming to me, because I was already good. So when it came to me, I'm like, okay, what I need to do and help somebody else out. I don't know what you mean by I don't teach the old. It's you don't have the authority to say who you are or are not going to teach. You know how you've probably heard this saying before, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, the opposite is also true. When the teacher is ready, the student appears. Regardless of where a person is in their life, there's going to be some type of challenges in terms of learning anything. It may be just a geographic challenge. It could be a gender challenge. It could be a age challenge. It could be a many different challenges. But as long as a person has a sense of self-determination and commitment to whatever it is, just like we're committed to everything else that we do in life, you're going to find a way to get it done. No. So yeah, so what I'm talking about really is trust. And a lot of us really don't have that level of trust. Because in this kind of capitalistic society, it's very carnivorous. People are raised with a mindset of just devouring other people in order to get to where it is that they need to get to. They view success in that kind of way. And that also breeds mistrust because it promotes rugged individualism. And a lot of people are not really committed to collective work and responsibility. And because of that, what I'm talking about in terms of like investing in others and helping support people and stuff, sometimes it's difficult because people just don't trust one another. You look at our communities and stuff, and you see a lot of the times the type of living conditions that some of our people are in, and the poverty and a lot of different other things. It's not a lack of money when it comes to our people or our communities. It's really the presence of mistrust. It's not the lacking, it's the presence of mistrust and the belief in this idea that I could be a self-made man or a self-made woman. And in the process, we alienate those who we should have a relationship with, you know? And I mean, I've had times too where I may have had afterthoughts about doing something for somebody. Like, damn, I shouldn't even have did that for them, you know? But it wasn't the afterthought of I shouldn't have done it, period. It was just I might have not should have done it for them. I should have did that for somebody else. So again, it's not just the lacking that we have, it's the presence of mistrust. And when you don't trust people, you won't have a sustainable relationship because you're always looking at how they may possibly strive to get you or take advantage of you. And granted, there are people like that in this world, obviously, but we have to strive to connect with those who don't operate like that, who don't deal in devilishment, lying, stealing, and striving to master other people. And there will come times where we test that to see if this is really a person of character. But we have to put ourselves in a position in order to even do that, which requires some level of trust. The capacity to change our circumstances and situations lie within us. It exists within us. And as long as we're committed to change and aligning ourselves with others who are committed to that change, you can get things done. But you really just have to be clear on those who are committed to change, because you can lose a lot of time searching for that does not exist in people. That may even be your family members, your so-called friends, and others. You have to commit to having a relationship with people who are committed to that same determined idea of change. So yeah, Malik said the world we attend is teaching us, and whether we know it or not, we're teaching directly or indirectly. Absolutely. You're teaching by virtue of living. Even in our death, we're teaching. We're teaching in our livelihood as well as our death. So yeah, I just wanted to come on for a little bit and just just share a few things that's been on my mind recently, and then to just offer some encouragement in terms of us being more committed to assisting our women. Not because it's transactional or because we want something from them or whatever. It's just because that's the righteous thing to do. We have to offer provisions and to help put women in positions where they're able to secure provisions for themselves. And we have to be willing to protect them as well. And when I say protect, there are things that I won't say on this live in terms of methodologies of protection. If those of you could read between the lines. But there are ways that we should offer that type of protection in the same way that you may see other people offer that protection to the women within their communities. And it's not hard to see. But we should be committed in the same way. Oftentimes, what's simple is hard. Yeah. Just Malik, just like sometimes the problem is the solution. And that's how some people are. The problem is the solution. And sometimes people are just not genuinely committed to doing the right thing. They would rather strive to figure out a right way to continue doing wrong. If they out here in the streets and they hustling or whatever, they may not be really committed to just doing the right thing and leaving that life behind. They may be more interested in learning, well, what is the right way to hustle? If they're doing various different other things, let me try to figure out the right way for me to continue doing what I'm doing. And when you see that, if the truth doesn't stop somebody, nothing will. And when you see it, you have to step back, realizing that this person has not exhausted all of their resources and have not hit rock bottom yet, where they are actually at the point where now life has beat them down so bad that they're willing to strive to do the right thing. Sometimes people have to go down that path in order for them to be convinced about the flaw in their thinking. I was never that type of person. I was always the type of person that'll sit back and I'll observe. And I've done dumb stuff before, where I've learned in the process. But for the most part, I've always have been an observer. I was never in the streets. I never hustled or nothing like that. I was the person that tutored the hustlers in mathematics in school. That's what I did. I didn't hustle, but the big hustlers, they came to me to get math lessons. So they would pay me to tutor them. So I've always had that kind of relationship, but I've never been the type of person that's knee deep in the streets. I've had family and friends and stuff that's there, and I've observed and I've seen the trajectory of that path. And watching that was enough for me to realize, like, nah, I could see that's not sustainable. I would rather do this. And the beautiful thing about it is I grew up in an era where my peers, and we were into a lot of different things, the things that we advocated for in terms of a common cause were usually sports and girls, but we might have been in other different things outside of that. There was never peer pressure for some of our peers to get us involved in something that we clearly wasn't into. So if some of us wasn't in the street, our peers that was in the street, they wouldn't try to encourage us to come in the streets and to get involved in stuff they was doing. They would keep that shit separate. We may go and ball or play football together or whatever, but when we were done, we hang out or whatever, but we gonna go our separate ways. And that was understood. That's the era that I grew up in. I mean, I know a lot of people see me nowadays and they may not really understand or appreciate my backstory in terms of how I got involved in doing a lot of things. And it goes all the way back to what I was talking about initially about volunteerism. Just investing my time. One time I got up way back in the 2000s, early 2000s, and said, I got up one morning and was like, you know what? I'm just going to go volunteer my time. So I went to a local recreation center, talked to the director there, and asked them, could I come in once a week on Wednesdays after school and just for an hour and a half, do some homework help and just work with the students that come into the program. And I did that consistently, rain, sleet, or snow, for a year. While I was simultaneously doing that, I also began to attend different type of community meetings and see who's who in the zoo, all of the things that they were actually doing, and networking. So when people started to see, like, damn, he's just volunteer his time to just come and to do this for these youth. When opportunities and doors open, I was one of the first people they would contact because they clearly saw where my intention and where my heart was at. Because this wasn't something I was doing because of a title and money or anything like that. It was something that I had a commitment to do. And they knew if opportunities came, I know that this person would be able to run an after school program or a summer camp. He's already doing it with no resources, just all of what he brings to the table. And the way that grants work, especially in communities where you have at-risk youth, you have to fulfill the obligations of that grant. So the grant may have certain specifications with it, certain data, and certain other aspects that have to be fulfilled in order for you to qualify for that grant, especially if that's something that has to be reapplied for within 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or whatever. The data that you collect is what substantiates your ability to reapply for that type of grant. A lot of times, people who apply for grants and they're good at grant writing, they're not the roll your sleeves up type of people. They may not have the actual skill sets in order to create programs, projects, and initiatives. They may not have that ability. So they look for people that, oh, I know that they're going to fulfill these obligations. That's their skill set. And because of that, sometimes you have people who write grants and they're able to get money to target certain demographics in a community. And they may not tell you directly that that is why they want you to be a part of their program or whatever. They may just make it look like, hey, we got a position open or whatever. And sometimes they play a game like that. They take the lion's share of the grant money, but give you a certain percentage of it in order for you to just meet the expectations of the grant, in order for them to be able to reapply for it when that grant runs out, whether it's a 3-year grant, 4-year grant, 5-year grant, or whatever. But then sometimes you have organizations or institutions that are straight up with you and they tell you directly, this is a grant that I'm applying for. This is how much it is. I want you to come in as the program lead or the facilitator or whatever. This is how much I can give you. Let me know whatever it is that you need, because we're going to do this. So you have some people that may come to you that way. But it's like when you look at in the early colonial period, when you had settlers coming over here to this territory, when they begin to establish villages and stuff, one of the first edifices or one of the first structures that they would build is a sawmill, because that served as the primary central structure that enabled them to build other structures around it. So that's something that you would always see in early settlements. They're going to create a sawmill because that allows them to produce the type of wood to build other structures around it. Right? I'm saying that to say at-risk youth are the sawmill of today's society. At-risk youth are the sawmill of doctorate degrees and dissertations of today. If people want money, all they got to do is identify the at-risk youth in a certain community, and they going to get some money. If people want to get a doctorate's degree, they just do an easy dissertation and study on at-risk youth in a community. So our children are functioning as a sawmill for communities. I've been told we have a budget. Can you come in and do X, Y, Z? Helping is my passion, but being taken advantage of or lied to is my pet peeve. Exactly. Exactly. Yup. And if somebody say we have a budget, okay, well, what's your budget then? Because that is, I mean, we're never really paid what we're worth, but it does give you a sense of a person's perspective in terms of how much they may value you. Because if they lowball you, it's like, they really don't see my value. But if they're willing to give you more than what it is that you expect, then you know at least they do have some sense of value in what you're worth. And that's just a rule of thumb for me as well. So if I'm outsourcing anything for people, if I have a contractor or whatever, a lot of times they may quote me less than what I'm willing to pay them. And I don't play no games like, okay, they just quoted me less. That's all I'm going to give them. I always give them more. Always. always. Because building that type of relationship is something that enables me to sustain that moving forward. Is there ever is it ever appropriate to ask to see the said budget? Yeah, especially if you have that relationship. But if you don't really have that type of relationship, it's really word is bond is life, and you really have to entrust that this person is sharing with you what that budget is. Now, if this person is really invested and committed, they may just show you that straight up and be like, "Yo, here's the budget," because it's important to them that you don't think they lying. And they just show you it straight up, you know? So again, sometimes people play that game and they act like they really don't want to tell you, your value and what you're worth. But in reality, they really need you, especially if they received a grant that requires certain specifications in order to fulfill the obligations of that grant. They need a certain amount of youth who are in attendance. They need to log a certain amount of hours, you know? Yeah. And that's something it's good to have your antennas up on that, Joy, just to be aware. But like I said, usually when you have institutions and organizations that get grants for certain programs, they either just hire people, usually the family and friends thing, but they always make sure they bring somebody in that's going to make sure that they work and they help fulfill the obligations of that grant. So I've experienced all different ones. I've experienced people getting a grant and they just bring me in like they hiring me to do a job, and I really don't know what the budget is or anything like that. They kind of just treat it like, yo, here's a blank check, just tell me what you need. And I wouldn't even really know what to ask for. And I'm talking about when I was, a lot younger. I would really wouldn't know what to ask for, or whatever. So I would be kind of humble on that, And then I've had experiences where I've gotten experience now, and they present me with the same type of opportunity. Just tell me what you need. I ain't being humble now. This is what I need. So, for example, back in 2005, before Henry Louis Gates was even doing those ancestry series or anything like that, I contacted Dr. Kittles and Gina Page, who started AfricanAncestry.com way back in the mid 2000s, before they were even popular. And I was able to secure a grant to get MatroClan tests to do a family tree project and get people tested to find out what their ancestry was. This was way back during that time. So I've had those experiences. People give me a blank check. Okay, get what you need. I've also had experiences where people tell me straight up, like, yo, this is the grant. I'm about to go get this. I need a partner. And I'm like, yo, I got you. I can put this together, whatever. So I'm in the know from the foundation. So that's the best case scenario and the type of relationships that I've had with, organizations or institutions. They're throwing grants around left and right here. So I see a lot of programs dressed up behind words, but no real mission, if that makes sense. Oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of the money from those grants are just going towards payroll and administration. There was a program that maybe about a couple of years, about a year and a half, couple of years ago, here in my city. Um, this entity brought me in along with some other brothers and was like, talking about, yeah, we need to have brothers as mentors, and tried to pair us with, young black males and stuff. And we need to create this big brother type of program and all this other stuff. And they got a grant to do that, but they was trying to get us to come in and volunteer. But the folks who were facilitating this program got all of the grant money. Like, it was paying their actual salaries just to set us up and partner us and pair us with a student and volunteer our time. And if we were going out for like lunch or dinner or something like that, we would be responsible for paying for lunch or dinner. They wouldn't even cover that. And these was black people trying to do that. I was like, oh no, I'm not being involved in nothing like this. They didn't even have enough sense to create some type of scholarship program for the students who were involved in this, to say, you know what, if you follow through with this for 8 weeks or whatever, we have this scholarship from the grant to help support you moving forward. They didn't even have enough sense to do something like that. And I was like, nah, I ain't getting involved in nothing like this. So I have experience. So I've seen people try to maneuver certain ways and do certain things, and I'm all about equality. I'm not going to take advantage of somebody, and I'm damn sure not going to let somebody take advantage of me. And I'm not going to let somebody take advantage of somebody else. I'm going to let them know straight up, don't let somebody use you. Or I'm going to check people that's trying to use people like that. Some people don't like that. Some people don't like that. And in our language, we call people like that the 10%. They rich slave makers of the poor. And that's the mentality that some people have. It doesn't matter what they so-called color or nationality or gender or age is. They out here trying to take advantage of people. And the unfortunate thing about it is they really think that they could be successful doing that. They really think that they could be successful. It's like I've patronized certain businesses before where they strive to take advantage of me. And I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, like, yo, if you had good customer service and you were dealing with equality, you would have a customer for life. I would always support you. But you trying to beat me out of $5? You would rather have $5 right now than to have a person that's committed to supporting your business for the rest of his life, as well as encouraging his own children to support your business. You see what kind of flawed thinking that is? But hey, people are taught that in this society when it comes to capitalism. You get what you get and don't throw a fit. Yeah. Yeah. I've had people fall out with me because they were so invested in money, not because I did anything, but I was able to see, like, damn, like that really means a lot to them. Not even anything about me personally, but seeing how they interact with others concerning money. And it's like, damn, you penny pinching like that. Like, you're willing to reduce your relationship with this person that you've been committed to for all of this time to dollars and cents. I can't fuck with you like that. Because if you would do that to somebody that has been your brother or your sister for this many years, it's only a matter of time where you're going to fall out with me too. So let me step aside because I see where your character lies. I've had to do that with people that, you know, until I saw that part of their personality, we were pretty close. But when I seen that, I'm like, oh, nah, nah, you know? So, yeah, it requires a lot of trust in order to really bond and commit with people and, you know, to, to make sure you support one another. I was telling my sixth graders because, I got like, if you notice, if you notice, I strive not to wear any brands. Even you see this shirt right now, you don't see no label on it, no brand. If I have sneakers on, I don't strive to wear sneakers where you can tell what brand it is. My pants are like that. All of my clothes, unless it's somebody that I got it from personally and it is their personal brand, I don't wear it. You never see me wearing any sports hats. You never see me promoting any kind of brand unless it is specific to someone that gave it to me or I bought it from that person. And that is the reason that I'm wearing it. I don't support corporations in that way. So I don't walk around like a billboard sign. And that's something that I would encourage all of you to do as well. If you're not a paid ambassador, if you're not no brand ambassador for these sports teams or whatever, I know you may like them and all this other stuff or these different brands. I wouldn't be out here wearing it and promoting it like that if you ain't getting a dime from them. Wear something that helps create brand recognition for a local business or somebody that you personally know or that somebody that you don't personally know but that you support. Wear that. The Golden State Warriors ain't paying you a goddamn dime. Some of these, other different corporations, whatever, they're not paying you to promote their brands. None of their budget in terms of marketing and promotion is going to you. So to me, it's always been counterintuitive to be out here doing that. And I'm talking about you can go back 10 years of me being on social media and you will not see me wearing big ass logos of certain sports teams and corporate brands and stuff before I got on social media. And I'm talking about going back to the 2000s. I made a commitment. I'm not going to be on here doing this. That's how I thought way back then. And it wasn't because I had certain brands and I'm promoting this, that, and the third. Nah, I just knew I'm not going to be out here promoting no companies or corporations or organizations and businesses and sports teams and stuff like that. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. So I say that to say, I was talking to some of my sixth graders the other day, and I'll have like some plain sneakers. Like you don't know what the brand is unless you look inside of the tongue to see this is the type of sneakers that they are, because there's nothing that visibly tells you what kind of sneakers they are on the outside. So of course they ain't no damn Jordans. Some of my sixth graders is like striving to clown me. So one day I took out a big ass wad of money, not because I'm going to the strip club or because I'm doing this, that, and the third. I just had it because I had to pay some bills and do some other stuff, right? But I took it out and I showed it to him, and I'm like, see, you wouldn't even know that I had this on me. But I would rather have this in my pocket than to take this and to put it on my damn feet. Matter of fact, I would rather take this and invest in something that you are doing as opposed to just taking it, putting it on my feet so that you can see what they look like and trying to impress somebody. I mean, adults still do that. I've never thought like that in my entire life, but adults do that every day. They buy some 200, 300, sometimes $1,000 sneakers to walk around like that is an indicator of value. That's not value. Value is taking $200 and investing in somebody's business or supporting this person's project, program, or initiative. Or you have this student that's striving to go on their senior field trip to another state and you invest in them. Or you have this other student that's going on a college tour. That is a better use and investment in your money as opposed to taking it, putting it on your feet. That's always been bullshit to me. And I've never operated like that. And that's never impressed me. But because that's the way that I'm orientated and I'm not judgmental, where if I see people doing that, you wouldn't necessarily know if I approve of it or not. It just, that's not significant to me. I wouldn't be all like, oh yeah, nah, and talking about people and shit like that. It's just like that just don't impress me. Or I see a person that, they buy themselves a car and they flossing in front with the car. That don't personally impress me. What is impressive to me? What is impressive to me is seeing some random person driving a car somewhere, and then I find out through word of mouth somewhere in the grapevine or whatever that they were able to get that because somebody invested in an opportunity because they needed it to get back and forth to work. And the person that did it didn't post the shit on Facebook. So to me, it's not impressive if you can get a car. Help somebody else get a car. That, to me, that's what's meaningful. Help somebody else do something. And I think if we start encouraging our youth to think that way, that the true value is in your purpose and meaning to not only other people, but to the planet, we'll start seeing a lot more beauty in this world because people are not so self-centered or egotistical or narcissistic. They're literally thinking and caring about other people. Well, we really have to be able to model those type of qualities and characteristics so that our children can see it and see that even though we're not performing these acts or invested in this way in order to get something out of it, that things continuously come through us. Things continuously come through us. They need to see that. But in order for them to see it, we have to live that way. We have to model that. A lot of the work that I do is because I grew up seeing my parents invested in me and my siblings' peers, doing work within the community. I grew up seeing my eldest sibling, my brother, invested in me and my peers. I grew up seeing other mentors in our community invested in us. I am the result of that. So I grew up, I didn't have to be convinced about the type of work that I do and the importance of being involved in your community and youth advocacy. Nobody had to sit there and convince me and tell me, this is what you need to do, Saladin, because it has value and it works. I saw it. So this is never a conversation that I had to have within myself or somebody had to communicate to me. Unfortunately, some people have never seen that before. Or if it was present in their environment, they may have not really observed it or witnessed it until they got older and realized, like, damn, I remember Mr. Jake, he would always, take his time and just, we come down the street or whatever, and he always would have money to give us just to make sure that we had something to eat. We think about that when we get older, and it's like, man, Mr. Jake was invested in our community. Mr. Jake knew that we wasn't really getting the meals that we should have had at home. So he stepped up in order to be that support and that part of the village that's necessary to raise us. I had people like that all over the place doing things because they understood that a part of the success of us and bringing more beauty into this world was to equip us with the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in order for us to establish that sense of balance and equality that's necessary for our communities to stay healthy. Now, I said that a little quick, but when I say knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, I'm talking about 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3 equals 6. 6 is equality. So equality being balance, homeostasis, it also represents health. Not only physical health, but health in a sense of social economics, because equality also means equity. So these mentors, these people who were older that were invested in us as children, understood the importance of equity, understood the importance of equality. They understood the importance of making sure that our community was healthy by them investing their time and sharing their gifts with us. These are brothers and sisters that I still have long-standing relationships with. That's still here to this day. And our relationship was respectful then, and it's still respectful now. So when we see a lot of the things falling apart in our community in terms of our youth behaving a certain type of way, in my mind, I always ask the question, what relationship have you ever even established with these youth? You're othering them. You talking about these youth as if they're not your children or your nephews or the children of the people that live in your community. You're talking about them like you have no connection to them at all when they are our children. So that right there tells me y'all not doing your job. Y'all not doing your job. We have to be connected and establish those type of relationships that have that sense of respect where people are receptive to what it is that you're willing to share, as well as receive and listen to when they want to share with you. It's reciprocal in that kind of way. But if we have this mindset like, oh, we can't tell these youth nothing, whatever, that tells me you ain't got no relationship with them. Because all of the youth that you actually have a relationship with, you can talk to them. You have a relationship. It's not saying that they're going to listen to and follow through with everything that you're saying, just like us. We never listen to and follow through with everything somebody told us. But at least you have that relationship where you can share something. At least you have that relationship where you're able to receive something from them. But if you're talking about they doing this, that, and the third, you telling me that you ain't got no relationships. That's a problem. Because if we're older, we have more life experience. it's really upon us in order to establish those type of relationships so that we can help rightly guide our next generation. And if we see that they're on the wrong trajectory, we need to figure out a way where we could help set them on a better trajectory than the one that they're on right now. But that requires a relationship. That requires an investment. I've had people ask me all of the time, like, yo, how do I start working in the community? Volunteer your time. A lot of times people ain't going to turn down free help. If you see an organization or an institution, it may be a church in your community that has youth programming and stuff going on. You may not be a Christian, but you can go there and help out and change garbages, can't you? If there's other issues going on, you could go there and say, I just want to help make sure that this is a safe environment. I just want to be around. You ain't got to go in there with an attitude like, yeah, I'm going to teach them this, that, and the third. No, just go and be there. You eventually have an opportunity to talk to people and establish a relationship and find those teachable moments and learning moments. But you got to be present first, and you got to be present consistently. It ain't like you got to go to school for 4 years and you got to get a degree in this and all of it. You just go there and ask and you volunteer. I just want to help. I just want to help. What could I do? Most people are not going to turn down free help and assistance, especially if you're a man. Because again, most times men don't put themselves in a position to do that. It's usually women who are willing to volunteer their time. But to see a man just come like, yo, I want to help out. They'd be like, what? And from there, you can build your relationships in order to do even more than what you started off or had an intention to do. But you got to be present first, and you have to do it consistently. If it's a food bank in your community, go there and ask, yo, I just want to help, unload the trucks or something. I just want to help. If it's a food kitchen, go there and say, I just want to help serve. You're going to come in contact with people. You're going to develop relationships with people, but you have to do it consistently. But again, a lot of men are not willing to do that. And that's one of the problems in our communities. We're not willing to step up and just add on. We talk about it. We talk about adding on all day. But when it really comes down to the work and the sweat equity and the finances, oh no, a lot of us ain't nowhere to be found. And that is a problem. It's a problem. But if you really are committed to this type of work and willing to do something, you have to be honest and make an accurate assessment of your time, because consistency is key. Doing things consistently is key. If you can dedicate an hour a week to something, figure out where you can dedicate that hour and volunteer your time at some organization, institution, or community space in your community. And do it consistently. You ain't got to have no degree to do that. Just have some clean clothes, but you ain't got to have no expertise to do that. You just go in there to help change garbages. You just go in there to make sure that maybe the students, get off of the bus and come into the facility, and you're making sure that you just watch out for, children coming across the street or leaving or whatever. It's just basic. But something that basic in terms of our investment in time, some of us are not willing to do that. And that is one of the problems. We out here individually trying to make money, and if we don't see what we gonna get out of it, we just not willing to do it. But I'm gonna wrap it up. It's 9:30 now. I gotta get ready for rest. Got school in the morning, but I just wanted to come on for a minute and just share some thoughts about community building. Yeah, little league coach. That's what I'm talking about, Mike. But in the chat and then also in my description of the video, if you wanted to get more information about my Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters renovation project, definitely check it out. Don't just take my word for it and be like, yo, I'm just going to support you because I like you. Nah, don't do no shit like that. Know exactly what it is that you're striving to support. If you go on my IG or even my Facebook page, just look up Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters. You can usually find it um, at, let's see, at Atlantis Build, and you can literally see the things that I'm doing. And if you want to support it, that's cool. You know exactly what it is you're supporting. It ain't no mystery, and you can see the type of impact that you're making and the type of support that you're giving me. And this is something that I've been doing and I'm going to do regardless. But I also had to learn in time that if people wanted to help support things that you're doing, give them an avenue to be able to do that. Because, I was very prideful at one point. Like, yo, I'm still going to do this regardless of what. I ain't going to ask for no help or whatever. But people started to reach out to me from all across the world asking me, yo, how could I help what you're doing? How could I help what you're doing? How could I help what you're doing? So I had to set up a medium and a means for people to support things that I'm doing. And I appreciate that type of support. And like I said, you follow me on my social media pages, as well as you can go to my GoFundMe link and see the updates that I share in regards to what I'm doing with my renovation project. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about the Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters, it's a private institution that I established here in my city. It's an early childhood learning center and after school program that is private, meaning that it's totally funded and supported by me specifically. And it is going to provide different type of projects, programs, and initiatives for you that necessarily don't get these type of opportunities in a public, private, or charter school setting. So again, if you wanted to get more information about it, to support it, and to see what you're actually supporting, you just go to Atlantis Build, at Atlantis Build on either IG, or you can go on Facebook and look up Atlantis School for Gifted Youngsters and check out everything that I'm doing. So I appreciate y'all just tuning in willfully. This inspired, empowered, and educated those of you that you can take some of the things that I said and use it. I didn't get on here just to do a bunch of talking and y'all can sit back and be like, oh yeah, that was good what he said. No, use some of the things that I'm saying. Put it into practice. Because if not, I just wasted my time. You just wasted your time because you just listened to somebody talking. But use some of the things that I said and apply it to your life. Because it's important that anytime you invest your time, that is something that can help improve your quality of life and help you become a resource to help others improve their quality of life. So peace and enjoy the rest of y'all night. And I'll be with y'all again soon.